Earlier this week, Toni Braxton, yes, the Don't Break My Heart Toni Braxton, went viral. And it wasn't for her music, but it was between her and Tamar, her sister. And Toni said some really out of the pocket stuff. Well, not really out of the pocket, but just really some ignorant things when it comes to the Bible and who wrote it. As a matter of fact, let's listen to it right here.
Okay, I gotta call you back. I'm about to have Bible study.
Why?
Cause I'm saved. And I read
Why
the
you have
word.
Bible study?
Because it's important to know the word. How else we gonna battle all these demons and witchcraft? How else you gonna do it?
There are other books.
Girl,
you
get
can
off of my
study
phone,
to
girlfriend. Get
yourself
off of my
approval.
phone. I'll call you back.
I mean, that book was written by racist white
Girl,
men.
goodbye, girl. I'll call you in an hour.
All right, so let's unpack this, right? Because Toni got it all the way wrong. So unfortunately, when it comes to Black people in America, a lot of us believe these false things about the Bible, right? One, that the Bible was used to keep us in slavery. Now, there was a Bible known as the Slave Bible. That was used, but not the original Bible that what we read now. Also, that the Bible was written by white people, or God is a white God, the God of the Bible is a white God, or Jesus was a white man with blue eyes, blonde hair. That is further from the truth. Okay, so let's dive in. Now, caveat, I'm not claiming to be a historical scholar. I haven't gone to seminary school or anything like that. I just love history. I love history. I love the history of the Bible. And also, I read my Bible and certain things pop up at me like, wait a minute. What we've been told or what I learned early about the Bible is totally false. And I've read these things for myself, did a little bit of put who's who, where is that, like on a map, or where these places actually exist. And I'm like, wait a minute, these are brown and Black people. Okay, so yeah, so this is just some of the historical studying that I have done. And I encourage you all to do your own study and just don't, believe what I say or what anybody says, but actually go down that rabbit hole, because we are in the 21st century and a lot of historical things that was once hidden from us are now made available through the internet, through books, etc. Okay? Caveat. Let me throw out this disclaimer. I do not have the best King James English. There's going to be some words that I butcher. There's going to be some words that I mispronounce. And there's just going to be some words that I just do not say. Okay? But I always say this. Moses. Okay? Moses parted the Red Sea. Moses did a lot of things. Moses got his people free. And he had a whole speech impediment. Okay? Do with that as you must. All right? Speaking of Moses, he was one of the first writers. He wrote at least 5 books of the Bible, and he was in locations such as like North Africa, Egypt, parts of the Middle East. Okay, and speaking of parts of the Middle East, that's where a lot of the biblical happenings during the Old Testaments were happening. Okay, so the Hebrew Bible, which is known as the Old Testament, emerged in regions such as Egypt, Cush, which is the modern Sudan, and people in these regions weren't Europeans. They were people of African and Middle Eastern descent. So the Bible was not authored by a blue-haired, blonde-eyed Europeans, but it was authored by Afro-Asiatic people of Black and brown descent. And fun fact, Cush, the land of Cush, is written in the Bible at least 52 times, okay? So we have to do a little bit more studying when we throwing things out there, because as history will show us, and even the Bible itself, when you read it, will let you know that a lot of these stories, a lot of the places that were happening weren't in Europe. Christianity was not created in Europe. It was created in Africa, the Middle East. Okay, so let's talk about the King James Version and how it came to exist, right? So King James was the king around the 1600s in Europe. And during that time, you have these Christians popping up. And there was Christians of all different types of beliefs, sects, had their different own type of Bibles, etc. So there was a lot of inner fighting, a lot of like whose philosophy was correct, who philosophy was wrong. And also you had these ancient texts that was written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. And so in that time, Europe, English was the language, right? So they had to translate these ancient texts into the English language, and also to try to stop this inner fighting between the Christians. So King James commissioned scholars to write one Bible that all of these Christians could. Pharaoh! Please excuse my dog if you hear any type of munching or crunching or barking in the background. It is him. He is a Doberman. And I don't know if we have any Doberman owners that are watching, but they are Velcro dogs and they want to stay with you all the time. And I am his person. And if he is not with me, he's going to start barking and I'm not going to be able to record this video. And I want to, so just a little disclaimer. All right, so let's get into it. Instead of having these different sects of Bible, King James said, I want to commission one Bible that is going to be for all of Europe. He didn't write it. He didn't even put any type of emphasis in it. The only thing he did was given the command to create this version of this Bible. It took, I think it started around 1604, and by 1611, you had what is now known as the King James Version of the Bible. Now, the first King James Version of the Bible included all of the original books. I think it was around 80 of them, right? But throughout the time, throughout the years, it ended up getting rid of some of the book, which we known as like the lost book of the Bible, which is like the Apocrypha, which holds like the book of Enoch, the Jubilees, etc. Throughout time, they got rid of those books and it became 66 books of the books that we study now. Now, the reason why they got rid of those books, right, is because it was based on a Protestant belief of Christianity, and some of those books didn't line up with what So when King James Version of the Bible was created, it included all 80 of the original books, right? It included the lost books, the Apocrypha, etc. But throughout the time, more political debates, more division. The Protestants, who were mostly the religion at that time, wanted at least 20 of those books that didn't line up with their theology to be taken away from the King James Version. And also the Protestants wanted their books, especially the historical documents, to line up with what the Jewish people at that time were reading, which was the Torah. And if you think about it, right, so here's the thing that I discovered, right, especially when it comes to the book of Enoch. The book of Enoch, it's just such a fascinating book. And also it was a book that was, it was quoted twice in the Bible. And also early Christians used to study from the book of Enoch. And I was always wondering, why didn't the book of Enoch make it in? Because when you read the book of Enoch and you read Genesis, it just goes hand in hand. And I don't know if you, but I remember when I was reading the book of Genesis, when the Nephilims or the giants came up on the scene, I was like, wait a minute, hold up. Where did these giants come from? Like, huh? Like what? Because, you know, the Bible, Genesis 6, give you a very short description, like a paragraph of where these giants came from. We know that the sons of God had sex with the daughters of men and created these Nephilims, these giants. But wait a minute, hold up. I needed more. So with the book of Enoch, the book of Enoch explains exactly where these giants came from, who were these watchers, and what actually happened when 200 of the angels left heaven and came here to earth. Now, here's the thing. The book of Enoch and the book of Genesis go hand in hand. They were written pretty much at the same time. And some scholars even believe that the book of Enoch predates Genesis, or it was around that time. Now, here's the thing. The book of Enoch, the Torah does not have the book of Enoch. And you know why? Because the book of Enoch proclaims and testifies of this coming Messiah, which is Jesus the Christ of Nazareth. All right. And so if the book of Enoch and the book of Genesis and all of the other 5 books of the Torah, which is the historic document, if the book of Enoch predates that, then the Torah will have to actually include the book of Enoch, which actually foretells the coming Messiah, which is Jesus Christ. And they did not want to do that. So in order to not have all of that, or not to proclaim who Jesus Christ was, they left the book of Enoch out. And so I might be all over the place, but no, do your own research, study that, because I thought that was very fascinating. And I always wanted to know, why did they leave the book of Enoch out when it's such a historical document, and especially talks about how the heavens were made, who were these angels, who were these watchers, why did they fall, why did they leave? And the book of Enoch explains all of that. All right, so for everyone who believes that Christianity was brought into Africa by the colonizers, that is absolutely incorrect. Christianity was founded, was started, was practiced in Africa way before slavery, way before they were stealing black folks and bringing them over to America. Christianity existed. It's in the scriptures. It's in text, it's in historical documents, okay? So let's talk about the Ethiopian Bible and how it predates. It's the oldest Bible that we have. It's the Ethiopian Bible, and it was created in the 4th century AD with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The Ethiopian Bible is one of the original Bibles that still has a lot of the original canon of the books before King James got to it. Matter of fact, it predates the King James version of the Bible by centuries. Even in the Bible, it talks about Ethiopia, right? King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. The Queen of Sheba is known as the Queen Makinda, who was actually the Queen of Ethiopia. And then, I don't know if you know the story, but this is just kind of how it goes. The Queen of Sheba came to meet with Solomon because she heard that Solomon was this great king. He was full of wisdom and knowledge, and she wanted to, learn from him and talk to him and just kind of converse with him, right? So she came up and she presented the king with all of her riches to tell him, like, hey, I heard about you, but have you heard about me? And I got riches too. The story has it that when the Queen of Sheba left, she actually left pregnant with Solomon's child, which was the king Menelik. And again, like I said before, I may be mispronouncing these words, but y'all know what I'm talking about. So the king Menelik was the son of King Solomon and the son of Queen of Sheba, which was Makinda. Now, here's the thing, right? And this is it's just so fascinating, this story, because Menelik actually came up to visit Solomon, right? Solomon knew about him, and Solomon at one point wanted the king to rule over Israel, because at this point I believe that King Solomon was kind of losing his religion. Remember, King Solomon had all these women, they was having him praising all these different gods, etc., etc. So in order to preserve the one true God, the beliefs that they grew up with, King Solomon presented King Malik with this opportunity to rule Israel, but King Malik did not do it. Instead, it's been rumored that he left in order to preserve King Solomon's belief in this one true God, that he left with the Ark of the Covenant, right? Because if you read the book of the Bible, right, especially in the Old Testament, they was running with the Ark of the Covenant for a very long time. Everywhere there was God or God's presence, it was in the Ark. And then throughout the Old Testament and even into the New, you hear no more mentions of the Ark of the Covenant. And so it's well, where did the Ark of the Covenant go? Right? And so rumor has it, or not even rumor, but history has it, is that the Ark of the Covenant was given to King Menelik from Solomon in order to contain it. And even in Egypt too, not Egypt, but in Ethiopia today, there's this tabernacle, right? And these tabernacle are these old churches that they believe that angels actually created these temples. And in these temples that are still existing today, they believe that the Ark of the Covenant is buried somewhere in these temples that these angels have built. I'm telling y'all, go, if you don't believe me, do a simple Google search and you can see everything what I'm saying is true and factual, and that these temples still exist today. So that is the history of the Ethiopian Bible. And if you are so Black Power down, and you need some type of historical content, or you want to see Africans in Christianity, that is a great book to get. And the one thing about the Bible that I really love, it really doesn't talk about things from a racial standpoint, right? It doesn't really talk about the color of someone's skin or what this person, when it talks about the tribes and the cultures of that time, but it very rarely makes mentions of the color of someone's skin. So I don't understand why we here in the 21st century make such a big ideal of a person of someone's skin. I do know why. Again, we don't fight against flesh and blood. We fight against principalities, spiritualness of higher wicked places. And the one thing that keeps us as humans separate is this race issue. It always has, and especially here in America. You know, it was built on slavery, stealing. I don't want to get into that. So who actually wrote the Bible? And my pastor, which is Pastor Anthony Michael out of 10/28/19, put it so perfectly. He said that the Bible was written over several decades between about 40 authors that spanned it, as we know, about 1,500 years. They didn't know each other. They didn't have any type of connections with each other. All they knew was they were inspired by something, a being that had them to write things, that had them to prophesize things to come, that had them to read and write and to pass down these stories through oral traditions, the griots of the day, right? And these were about 35 to 40 men that carried this story. And the one thing that this story, throughout the decades, throughout all of that, one main thing, that Jesus Christ is Lord, that Christ came in human form to earth to redeem us back to himself, so that we would not have to experience the second death, but we could be covered, be renewed, and be saved through the shedding of the blood of Christ. That's really what the Bible is, right? It's a story, a love letter to humanity from God to show us how he redeemed us back to himself. So now, therefore, we can reign with him throughout eternity. So you have authors like Moses, who was credited for writing the first 5 books. David, who wrote the Psalms and the Proverbs. Solomon, Isaiah. You have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Gospels of Jesus Christ. You have Paul, and you have other authors throughout the Bible. And these authors came from all kinds of different walks of life. Some were shepherds, kings, prophets, teachers, fishermen, and scholars. So what was the purpose of the Bible? Why was it written? I truly believe that the Bible was written, one, to reveal who God is, to reveal his nature, to reveal his relationship to creation, to us humans, to reveal his true word, to reveal what he's like, to reveal what he wants, to reveal Christ. From Genesis, in the beginning was the word, to Revelations, I am the Alpha and the Omega. So the Bible is both divinely inspired and humanly written to show us that there is a God that exists, that shows us that Jesus came to this earth to defeat death, to restore us back to Christ, to cover us in the blood, to show us that he has redeemed us back from the sin that we are in, because God so loved us. So it doesn't matter if God is black, white, brown, gold, yellow, it doesn't matter. What matters is God loved us so much that he sent his only begotten son, Jesus Christ, to come to this earth to die for you and me, to redeem us back to the Father. So look, I hope that this Bible study on the origins of the Bible really helps you and really just kind of inspires you to go down deeper to see exactly who wrote the Bible, especially as Christians. We have to know who we are studying. We have to know why we are studying it. And we need to know the origins of where it's come from, right? What does the Bible say? Study to show thyself approved. Because when someone comes, a naysayer, an unbeliever, someone who has thoughts and opinions, come and ask you, why do you believe in what you believe? You got to stand 10 toes down. You have to know exactly what you're talking about. Because why are you believing in something that you know not where it comes from, right? We are living in the 21st century where historical documents are being made plain in our sight, right? To really point to the fact that there is a God, that there is a divine intelligence, that the scriptures are true, and Jesus Christ is coming back for his bride. And we need to be standing ready, standing, and helping and becoming disciples of Christ. So again, thank you all for watching this video. And like I mentioned before, I'm not no Bible scholar. I'm not a historian. All I do is read my Bible. I read historical documents. I'm fascinated by the Bible, like all aspects of the Bible, especially the historical things. There's just certain things I want to know, like, well, why did this exist and why is that? And one of the things that I do know is that the Bible was divinely inspired by God and written by mankind to bring us back to him, to redeem us back to him, to let us know who the nature of God is. He loves us so much. So again, thank you so much. And until the next video, I will see you all on the other side. Peace.